Okay, so if you would
Are you going to
just,
ask me a few questions? or
yeah,
you just want me to-
I'll just ask you and to set you up to just go.
Okay.
Okay, so now here you are at this stage with 36 countries, and another country has said, please bring Healthy Start. Talk about the, adventure of all these decades of going all over the world with your products.
Well, we started many years ago, and we went to Europe first, and they were very interested. So we suddenly started to distribute it in France and Italy and Spain and the Netherlands, and it became very popular. In France, it became one of the most popular appliances that was used over there to finish up orthodontic cases, basically. And so then I started going over there and lecturing, and I would lecture maybe 3 to 4 times a year in the European countries, and we would go to several countries at once. And then later on, we went into Finland, we went into Denmark and the United Kingdom and Switzerland, and we gave lectures there. And then pretty soon we started to go to other countries where some of these dealers had, interest in it, such as Japan and Taiwan, Korea, Australia. And so we eventually went to probably about 30 different countries over the years. And so it's been very popular. Some countries it's extremely popular where they do earlier treatments, such as in Italy and Finland. Brazil, we went into South America and Mexico. And we did not really go to too many countries, as I recall, in Central America. But the next one will be probably Ecuador that we're going into. We've been into Argentina, and we've had other speakers then that can speak Spanish that have gone into countries such as Colombia. And for example, in Italy, we have 2 or 3 other speakers that are speaking almost on a regular basis to groups, and then I would go over once or twice a year to kind of round up everybody a little bit. And so we try to get other speakers in these countries that speak their language, that are treating their children, which gives them a little bit more of a closeness to the appliance. And we've been in countries such as Bulgaria. We've sent other people into Russia and Ukraine. So there are very few countries where it has not gone into, especially where they have enough interest in orthodontics. And most of these countries are interested in orthodontics. And then there are other countries such as India. I have been to India, but I've never lectured there. And then some of the countries like Cambodia and Vietnam, we've had other people do a few lectures. In fact, recently we had one of our people in Vietnam that gave a lecture there, and in fact, we even treat children in Cambodia in an orphanage there. And so it's been an interesting bout. I'm getting kind of tired traveling at this point, but my wife and I always took my wife with me on the trips, so we made kind of a game out of it. And so we went to a lot of places. I even went to one place near Madagascar called La Réunion, which is a French colony. They were so happy to see me. They hardly ever get anybody to come down there, but there are a lot of users in La Réunion for us even.
How about Africa?
I think about, well, in Africa, I did give several lectures in Union of South Africa. We went to Johannesburg and a few other cities there, and that's about the only place in Africa that I recall. We had somebody lecture in Egypt, as I recall. I have not lectured there. So, but Africa, most of the countries in Africa, they do not have probably the amount of interest in orthodontics that some others have, but Union of South Africa is probably the most advanced country in Africa, and we went there.
The fact is that you're an orthodontist, which opens more minds and doors to the fact that this is an advanced orthodontic appliance. Is that a fair statement?
I think that the orthodontists are particularly in foreign countries, are very open to this appliance because it makes orthodontics a lot easier for them. Sometimes they don't have to have all the special training that fixed appliances require. And so it becomes very popular in a lot of countries, such as Italy, for example, and Brazil. These countries, Spain, they do not have the type of formal education perhaps that we have here. On the other hand, there are orthodontists in many countries that are very open to it. We have orthodontists in Brazil, for example, in Japan that use it, that find that it's an easier approach. It is a simple approach, and it gets the same results in a way with a lot less effort and a lot less training.
You mentioned that, this is my last question before closing out, kind of, that dentists make such a great platform because they see children early and often.
For sleep?
For everything, the whole thing.
You're not
dentists,
just talking about ortho, are you?
No, I'm talking about HealthyStart, that dentists make such a great platform for HealthyStart because they see kids early and often.
Well, in recent years, I've become very interested in sleep issues on adults and children. We started out with adults, but I really found that children have a lot of issues in sleeping, and it affects their school performance. It affects their social interaction with other children. And if we can get to a child before they start school, we can prepare them for school so they make more friends, they're more popular with their other children, and they develop so much nicer and do better work. And so the dentists in particular, and the pediatric dentists, see children from about 2 years of age on, and they're perfect people to be able to promote some of the sleep problems and their corrections that we need. The dentist, for example, can widen the upper arch, increase the nasal breathing. They can cure mouth breathing, which is very disastrous for the lack of oxygen for a child. So many of these things that the dentist is capable of treating can even see a child at 2 years of age or even younger and have a tremendous influence on that child's future development. And when a child starts school, they're prepared for school. They have better attention. They're not hyperactive. They're not a problem for the school teachers. Some of these children are absolute terrible in school. And as it goes on, they become more and more serious problems that develop. And by the time they're in high school, they sometimes are resistant to police and get in trouble, put in jail and so forth. And so we want to treat these children at a young age, get them started before they start school, which makes a better future for them.
Brilliant. Okay, I got to tell you that everybody, when they're talking about you, they say you're a genius, and there is no question about that. And, you know, in terms of impact, when you look back at your career and what you've done, you know, how do you feel about all the accomplishment?
I don't know how I can talk about that too much. But
Okay, you don't...
Well, I started teaching in orthodontics at Northwestern University, and I became interested in growth and development, and I became interested in statistical changes that are occurring. And one thing led to another, and as I became interested in other fields, all of these things seemed to come together. And as far as doing orthodontics, I've always wanted to do something in the simplest and easiest way that would benefit the patient or benefit the amount of fee that a patient has to pay, so it would open up orthodontics to much larger segments of children that never have that opportunity. And as I developed that, I found that every time I looked at something, even in my own practice, that was so complicated and convoluted to get some change, sometimes an easy way of doing it would come to my mind, and then I would work on that. And I would never take no for an answer from anybody, because there's always a way to solve a problem. And if you can solve some of these problems little by little, I became interested in orthodontics at different ages, and suddenly we started doing it at 5 to 7 years of age, which I really think that in future years orthodontics will have to be done at that young age because it is so simple and it gives a perfect result and doesn't relapse. Then I became interested in sleep issues for children, and to me that is a huge factor for a child's success in life. If we can improve that, what a wonderful benefit for children if you can change their life pattern, the way they relate to other children and how they do in school and so forth. So children are the answer because they're so easy to treat and things work a lot faster and more complete when you can prevent something in the first place.
So you addressed it with the perfect kind of historical, just the history of how all this came together. So I can't think of anything else.
Little by little, one thing leads to another. Everything in orthodontics and everything in the human body is interreacted with things. And for example, when we advance the lower jaw and bring it forward, create growth, we create more growth in the lower jaw when we do that. I could never understand why we ever did that, but when I look at sleep issues, to bring the mandible forward, bring the lower jaw forward, you open up the airway, which brings more oxygen into the lungs, which affects the brain, the immune system, the endocrine system. There are 600 hormones in the human body. We have no idea what all these effects have on young children, for example, that are affected from birth on. And if we can get a hold of these children, even before 2 years of age, the dentist is capable of advising mothers on how to best treat their children, what kind of nutrition they should be giving their children instead of feeding them all the things that are harmful to them. And if we can combine that with sleep, what a wonderful benefit for a child that would be.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for taking care of my grandkids.
Huh?
Thank you for taking care of my grandkids.
They're not taken care of yet.
Well, but you're taking care of them.
We got to make sure they finish.
I'm going to do that.
I didn't see them today.
No, they're flying in tonight.
Oh, I thought you were going to bring them today.
No, they're flying in tonight, and then and they have to fly into LAX because